So here, Indian polity and governance, right? Here, Indian polity and governance, constitution, political system, etc. Constitutional development of India, right? This is all about. Here, the point is Indian constitution here. The point is Indian constitution. Indian constitution in the is the is the lengthiest written constitution in the world. The development of the constitution in its present form, has its root in British rule. A constituent assembly was totally formed in 1946, right? In 1946, as suggested as suggested, you know by M. N. Roy in 1934, right? So here, Indian constitution, the a constituent assembly was formed in 1946, as suggested by M. N. Roy in 1913, right? So next point is what? Regulating act. Regulating act. So here, regulating act here, it was the first step, taken by British government to control and regulate the affairs of East India Company, right, in India. So here, next point is it made Governor of Bengal as Governor General of Bengal, and an executive council, comprising of four members, was created for providing assistance to Governor General. Right. Next point is what here? Next point is Lord Warren Hastings, became first Governor General of Bengal. The Act also laid the provisions, for the establishment of Supreme Court at Calcutta, with one Chief Justice and three other judges. It was established in 1774 with Sir, Elijah Impey appointed as a Chief Justice. Right. Next point is what? Pitt's India Act. Here's a Pitt's India Act. Right. So here, in Pitt's India Act 1784. So Pitt's India Act, 1784 was passed to rectify the defects of regulating Act of 1773. Right. So this act separated the commercial functions of the company, from political functions. Court of directors, were allotted commercial functions, and a board of control, consisting of six members, was appointed for, handling political affairs. Right. Next is Charter Act of 1813. Right. Here, it deprived the East India Company of its monopoly of trade, with India, except for tea and trade with China. Right. So here, the act regulated, the company's territorial revenue and commercial profits. It was asked to keep its, territorial and commercial accounts separate. So here, Christian missionaries, were allowed to work in India. Right. So here, a provision was made that companies should invest rupees 1 lakh per year on the education of India. So that was the Charter Act. Right. Next is Charter Act of 1833. Right. So it was passed by British Parliament to renew, the charter of East India Company. Next point is, East India Company was no more a commercial body. All its commercial functions, you know been taken away, making it an, administrative body working on behalf of the British government. So Governor General of Bengal, became the Governor General of India. So Lord William Bentinck, became the first Governor General of India in 1933. Right. So it deprived the governor of Bombay and Madras of their legislative power. All the legislative powers of British India, went in the hands of Governor General. Next point is the November. I'm to say the number of members, right? The number of members of the Governor General's Council, was again fixed to four. A law member was added in in Governor General Council. Lord Macaulay was, designated as a fourth member. Charter Act of 1853. This act introduced open competition for Indians in civil services. Right, the Charter Act of 1853. This act introduced, open competition for Indians in civil services. This act also empowered the Court of Directors to constitute a new, presidency, to appoint, um, you know lieutenant governor, right? So strength of court of directors was reduced to 18 from 24. So six new members, were added as legislative councillors. Out of these six members, four were appointed by, you know provincial provincial government, right? So the Government of India Act 1858, the revolt of 1857, was Indians results in the East India Company rule, with all the powers of administration of India territory been taken by British Crown, in its hand. Major provisions of the act were, so it changed the designation of a general governor, the governor general, to that of viceroy. So viceroy was representative of the British crown. So Lord Canning, became first viceroy of India under the act. So it provided the Secretary of State with a 15-member council to assist him, responsible for Indian administration. He was a British cabinet member who was responsible to the British, Parliament. Next point is what? Next point is Indian Councils Act, 1861. Right, Indian Councils Act 1861. The act restored the legislative powers of Madras and Bombay, right? Madras and Bombay, which were taken from them, by Charter Act 1833. So Governor General, was given the right to exercise absolute veto power and issue ordinance, which could remain in force for 6 months. So Viceroy was given the power, to make rules and orders for convenient, transaction of business, in council. Right. So under this, Lord Canning introduced portfolio systems, which led, the foundation of cabinet systems in India. A law member, was added in the executive council of general governor general. Right. Next point is Indian Council Act 1892. Indian Council Act 1892. This act enlarged, the Governor General's Council by adding more non-official members. Though official majority was maintained, 2 by 5 of new members were non-officials. The principles of indirect elections was introduced, but the word election was not used. It gave the power of discussing the budget. Next point is Indian Council Act 1909. So Lord Morley, Lord Morley was the then, Secretary of State for India, and Lord Minto was the Viceroy. Hence, the Act came to be known as, Morley Minto reforms. The size of Legislative Council at center, the size of Legislative Council at center and, provinces was significantly increased. Right. So the member of Governor General's Council were, increased from 16 to 60. So you know electorate separate electorate but was introduced for Muslims, introducing the communal representations. Right. So elections were, introduced in India for the first time. Indians were allowed in executive council of viceroy. So here Satyendra Prasad Sinha. became the first Indian member to join Viceroy's Executive Council. Right. So here councils were given the right to discuss any matter, move resolutions, move resolutions, you know, on budget and ask questions with supplementary questions, but they did not have the right to vote. Next point is Governor of India Act 1990. Right. Here, you know, DYARCHY was introduced at provincial level, that is the rule of two executive councils and ministers. Government of provinces was accountable to legislative councils of state for transferred subjects, but not for dissolved subjects. All the functions of government were divided into centers and state provinces. Right. So here provinces were given more autonomy, and they could legislate on all subject related to provinces. So here, bicameral legislature were introduced, at the center, consisting council of the state upper house and central legislative council is lower house. Right. So it required 3 out of 6 members in viceroy's executive councils to the Indians, expect commander in chief. So here for the first time, elections were for the first time, direction election were introduced in India. Separate electorate systems was totally continued for Muslims, and it was also extended to Sikh, Christians, Europeans, and Anglo-Indians. So this act, provided for elected, nominated officials and nominated non-official members. Limited franchise was introduced, in India for the first time on the basis of property, education, and tax. Right. So the act also provided for a central public service commission. Right. That we called Central Public Service Commission. Right, which was established in 1926. So the persistent demand of administrative reforms led the British government to appoint a statutory commission in 1927, popularly known as Simon. So here Government of India Act 1935. First is bicameral legislature in 6 out of 11 provinces. Bengal, is Bombay, Madras, Bihar, United Province, and Assam. Next is All India Federation. It's comprising of British India provinces and princely states as unit. Third is Reserve Bank of India formed. Federal Court at Delhi with a Chief Justice and not more than 6 judges. You know, in 1937 established. Right. Here, next point is communal representation. Right. Communal representation, separate electorates. Nomination provisions, nomination provisions for women, labor class, and Anglo-Indians, Muslims, and depressed classes. So establishment of public service commission. Right. So here the next point is August offer 1940. Right. So Viceroy, of Linlithgow is the viceroy, issued a statement on behalf of the British government on 8th of August 1940, called as August Offer. Lord Linlithgow, promised that after the end of Second World War II, a completely responsible, government on domination model, would be established in India. So it recognized, the right of Indian to make their constitution for the first time, as it stated, that a constitution making body would be created. So Chris Mission, 1942. During the course of World War II, the coalition government in England and sent Sir Stafford Cripps, a member of the cabinet in March 1942, with a draft declaration which were adopted while framing a constitution accepted, to the two major parties in India, Congress, and Muslim leagues. So here the proposal, provided for an Indian union, comprising of all British provinces in India and the princely states and domination status to India as a participant to the British Commonwealth of Nations. So here dominion status concept is dead, as told Neil J.L. Nehru. So a Clement Attlee's announcement. So here Lord Clement Attlee, made a historical announcement on 15th March 1947 that Britain was ready to provide freedom to India after transferring, you know, power into responsible hands, not late than June 1948. All minorities, interest will be secured, right? So here it announced that the cabinet mission was to visit India to assist Indians to determine a suitable forms of government. Next is Simla Conference 1945. All parties met, on 25th June 1945 at Shimla, where 22 representative participants under Abdul Kalam Azad in Shimla Conference 1947. So here Cabinet Mission 1946. Here the main objective of the Cabinet Mission plan, was to find out ways and means for the peaceful transfer of power in India and to suggest measures, taken for the formation of constitution making, machinery and the issue of interim government, a commission to inquire into the report on the working of Government of India Act 1919, which submitted its report in 1930. The report was considered by a series of roundtable conferences held at London between 1930 to 1932, and the white paper of constitutional reform was prepared as a result of the conference, which was passed as Government of India Act 1935. So cabinet mission compromising, comprising, Lord Patrick Lawrence, Sir Stafford Cripps, and Mr. Alexander arrived in India on 24th of March 1946. Next point is what? Next point is Government of India. Sorry, where is that? Okay. Next point is Government of India, 1935. Right. So this act abolished uh, duarchy at provinces, and established duarchy at the center, right? So federation, so here federal subjects were divided into transferred and reserved subjects. So here reserved subjects were in the hand of viceroy, who worked with councillors and was not responsible for the legislature, right? So here transferred subjects were administered by viceroy on the advice of council of minister responsible to the legislature, although it never came into effect. So here a union of India, comprising British India and princely states, thus advocating an undivided India, was totally conceptualized. A constituent assembly was to be elected and an interim government to be formed with the support of a major parties, right? It also provide that all members of interim cabinet would be Indians, and there would be minimum interference by the viceroy. So it also proposed, that constituent assembly was to consist of 292 members from British India and 93 from the Indian states. All states, all state subjects, along with residuary powers, should be vested in provinces. The proposal of mission, right? The proposal of cabinet mission were accepted, and Constituent Assembly elections were held in July 1946. Mountbatten Plan, in June 1947, Lord Mountbatten came up with a partition plan, known as Lord Batten Plan, 3rd of June 1947, due to the Muslim League agitation for separate countries. So on 20th of February 1947, Clement Attlee declared the British rule in India would end, by 30th of June 1948. But after the Mountbatten Plan, which put forward a plan for united Hindustan and Pakistan, which was accepted by Congress and Muslim League. So immediate effect was given to the Mountbatten Plan by enacting the Indian Independence Act 1947. Here, next point is what changes introduced, through Indian Independence Act 1947. First is here evolution of the sovereignty and responsibility of the British Parliament. Next is Crown no longer remained the source of authority. Third is Governor General and provincial governors to act as constitution head. Sovereignty of the domination legislature. Next point is Indian Independence Act 1947. On the 15th August 1947 at midnight, British rule came to end and two new dominations took powers in their hands for their respective territories. Lord Mountbatten became the first Governor General of Domination of India with Jawaharlal Nehru, as the first PM. Framing of the Indian Constitution here, there were total 389 members, out of which 292 were to be elected by provinces, and 93 seats were allotted to princely states, for chief commissioners provinces. Seats in the provinces were to be distributed among three communists: Sikh, Muslim, and general in proportion to their population. Finally, suggested in cabinet mission, 1946 and 1946 were accepted, and elections for the assembly, constituent in July August 1946. So here is a evolution of the office, of Governor General. So here Governor General, then here 73, 1773 Lord Warren Hastings, and then here Governor General of India 1833 Lord William Bentinck, then Viceroy 1858, you know here Lord Canning, then President 1950 Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Right, this is the evolution of office of Governor General. Right, first is what here, that Governor General, Governor General 1773 Lord Warren Hastings. Second is Governor General of India 1833 Lord William Bentinck. Third is Viceroy 1858 Lord Canning. Fourth is here President 1950 Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Here the Constituent Assembly elected according to Cabinet Mission Plan, for undivided India, met on 9th of December 1946 with Dr. Sachidanand Sinha as its interim president. After 2 days, that is on 11th December 1946, Dr. Rajendra Prasad was elected president of Constituent Assembly. Right, on 13th of December 1946, objective resolution was passed in Constituent Assembly, which was introduced by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. So B. N. Rao was appointed as the constitutional advisor. So Mountbatten here, paved the way for the two nations, and separate constituent assembly was formed for Pakistan. Hence, the areas which went in Pakistan, that is, East Bengal, Northwest Frontier Provinces, that we call NWFP, right, West Punjab, Balochistan, Sindh, and Sylhet district of Assam were no more representative in India Constituent Assembly. There were fresh elections in new provinces of West Bengal and East Punjab. Sylhet and NWFP decided to join Pakistan through referendum. So when Constituent Assembly reassembled, its strength, came down to 299 from 389, with 299 Indian provinces members and 70 princely state members. So here Constituent Assembly reassembled on 14th August 1947 as Sovereign Constituent Assembly. So here committees on the Constituent Assembly, here the Constituent Assembly appointed 22 committees, to deal with different tasks of constitution making. Here major committees and chairmen. Drafting Committee, Dr. V.R. Ambedkar. Union Power Committees, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Okay. So here Provincial Constitution Committee, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Steering Committee, here Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Committee of Fundamental Rights and Minority is Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Union Constitutional Committee is Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Next is State Committee is Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Right. Next is Finance and Staff Committee is Dr. Rajendra Prasad. So here, Constituent Assembly appointed, our drafting committee, of seven member on 29th of August in 1947, with Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, as its chairman. Other members were and uh, Gopal Swami Iyer, you know, Iyengar. Here, Aladi Krishna Swami, Iyer, Dr. K. M. Munshi, Mohammad Sadullah, B. L. Mittar, and D. P. Khaitan, right, died and replaced by T. T. Krishnamachari, right. So here the assembly performed, two separate functions. One, making a constitution for free India, and two, enacting of ordinary laws for the country. On 24th January 1950, the Constituent Assembly had held to find session. However, it continued as provincial parliament till 1952. Right. So here's some other minor committees here. AD Hoc Committee on National Flag, Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Order of Business Committee, Dr. K. M. Munshi. Committee on the Functions of the Constituent Assembly is G.V. Mavilkar. Okay, so here the Constituent Assembly adopted, national flag on 22nd of July 1947. Right, while the national anthem and the national song were adopted on 24th January 1950. The Constituent Assembly took, 2 years, 11 months, and 18 days, to frame the Constitution, and finally it was last assembled on 26th of November 1949. When Constituent Assembly signed the Constitution, 284 numbers signed the Constitution. So 26th January was chosen, as the date of commencement of Constitution, where 26th of January was observed as Independence Day by power after, by people after Congress session at Lahore on 21st of December 1929 passed a resolution of complete independence, that's Purna Swaraj, and declared 26th of January as Day of Independence. Right. So can I repeat it again? Okay. Some other minor committees here. AD Hoc Committee on National Flag, Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Order of Business Committee here, Dr. K. M. Munshi. Committee on the Functions of the Constituent Assembly is G.V. Mavilkar, right. So here, the Constituent Assembly adopted national flag, on 22nd of July 1947. Adoption of national flag is what? 22nd of July 1947, while the national anthem and the national flag and the national song, national anthem and national song were adopted on 24th of January 1950. Adoption of national flag is 22nd July 1947, and national anthem and national song were adopted 24th of January 1950. So the Constituent Assembly took 2 years, 11 months, and 18 days, right, to frame the Constitution, and finally it was last assembled on 26th of November 1949, when Constituent Assembly signed the Constitution. Right, 284 members signed the Constitution. So here, 26th January was chosen as the date of commencement of Constitution because 26th of January was observed as Independence Day by peoples after congregation at Lahore on 31st of December 1929 passed a resolution of complete independence, Purna Swaraj, right, and declared 26th of January as Day of Independence. So important dates here. The important dates here: 9 December 1946 here. The concerned event is what? First sitting Constituent Assembly. Date is 26th of January 1947 here. You know, Constitution was adopted, enacted. 11th December 1946 here, Dr. Rajendra Prasad elected President of the Constituent Assembly. 24th of January 1950 here, adoption of national song and national anthem. 24th of January 1950, right? The adoption of national song and national anthem, right? So here, 30th of December 1946 here, objection resolution was introduced by Jawaharlal Nehru. 26th January 1950 here, Constitution came into force, making India a republic with Dr. Rajendra Prasad as the first president. 22nd of July 1947 here, Constituent Assembly adopted national flag. 25th October 1951 to 21st of February 1952, the first general elections were held. 15th August 1947 here, transfer of power leading to the formation of dominations of India and Pakistan. 14th August 1947. Right. So here next point is what? Features of features features of Indian Constitution. A major part of the Indian Constitution here, at almost 70% was derived from Government of India Act 1935. Owing to the familiarity with the political and administrative mechanism and envisaged under the Act. So feature of Indian Constitution here, here undestructible union of destructible states. Right, here next is separation of powers, you know intermingled with checks and balance. Third is lengthiest written constitution of the world, partially rigid special majority and partially flexible amendments by simple majority. Rights subjected to reasonable restrictions alongside duties of citizens towards the state and nation, right? So here incorporates accumulated experiences of almost all the known constitution for the union along with the state, including provisions for the local self government, parliamentary form of government here, Westminster model. Last is here special, temporary, and transitory provisions for classes, regions, and states owing to socio historical factors and diversity of the country. So yeah.